Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Hello, everyone. All right. Is everything advancement? All right. The title, Is Everything Advancement, is an implication. It's implying that everything in existence, part of its engagement and activity, is to update. It is easy for human beings to fathom software updating or even hardware updating, but when it comes to our species, we are not considering the software and hardware update. Something for the viewers to keep in mind: you're listening to a Muslim sci-fi writer, and you're also listening to a human being who visually thinks, meaning that I have a cinematic experience behind my eyes, and when I speak, I am in some sense seeing like a film. Anyways, alongside this point, when you think about human consciousness and the position it finds itself in an existential system. Existence is a system. This system has a system admin. There are moderators. We are in the position of members. If you look at reality, some parts of it don't make sense, and it's designed that way to make you pay attention to it. When we think about human life, or at least how I have come to view it, is that not only is it like a video game, but these three levels constitute are based on what you are aware of you are. So think of it this way: level one, it's the level of physical objects, the level of organisms. In some sense, you are an object, you're responsible for an object in this lifetime, and you function, you move and navigate the object. So level one is you realizing that the mission is for the body to survive and stay healthy, but the inevitable failure is death. So the body, the mission in keeping the body alive all the time, in some sense, it's inevitable. We can't. Now, So, in level one, we reach a problem. If you just live as a physical being, you're going to be like, what is this? I'm here to, in some sense, maintain this physical existence, and then one day it's going to be dismissed. So, level one, you can understand the mission, but in your effort to complete it in the long term, it's incomplete. So, short term, you survive, okay, but long term, we don't. Now, when it comes to the mind, so that's level one, physical existence. When you go to level two is what do you do with your mind? And when it comes to the mind, okay, the mission of the body was survival, the mission of the mind is service. Why service? In some sense, when the mind goes to serve, first of all, what you are is like some energy. You do have a physical extension, but you also have a psychological extension, let's say. What that means is your body is accessible to you in the presence of your attention. And how you contain the body is by like the edges being the skin, right? Separating us from the world, like our physical body separate from the earth. But when it comes to your mind, when it comes to the mind doesn't have a fear of death like the body. The mind actually, every time we go to sleep, disappears and wakes up the next day from the last checkpoint and carries on. The issue with the mind is that the mind even has an incredible instantaneous simulating ability, probabilizing ability, but the issue is that the mind has access to infinity. So if the body is wondering what to do with the finite, your mind is wondering what to do with infinity, and the inevitable long-term problem it comes to is out of all the infinite ways I can perceive life, which way to perceive. So the body doesn't know what to do with the finite, with finity, and the mind doesn't know what to do with infinity. Most human beings, they live lives that are up to level two. These are interfaces. So what do we do with uh, the inevitable temporary nature of our physical existence, and what do we do with, in some sense, the infinite meaninglessness of a mind that can see so many ways of something happening? So pretty much the mind wants to serve because it's here. It's not even considering itself as something temporary because it constantly changes. Anyways, that means if you're a human being that has understood itself more than an object and a subject has understood the limitations of the object and the subject, and let's say you want an experience, not because of wanting to see what else is there, but you've seen that to live as an object and subject, you've seen the limitations of it, you've seen how it is. The third level is a completely different level. Religious people are closer to it, simply because it has to do with working with a higher power. It's the suggestion that there is an intelligent agency in this world. You see, imagine I write a book about the Amazons. Now, some people have never been to the Amazons. They read this book, they're imagining their own Amazon, right? Their own jungle, right? They don't know what it looks like exactly, but they're imagining it. That's one way of being religious. It's bound still to your conclusions. And then there's a type of being religious where you've actually gone to the Amazons. And so when you realize the limitations of your current power as a being, you will notice that there are unknown and uncontrolled variables that you cannot account for. That means, sure, from one angle, that person's lucky, that person's unlucky, but from another angle, this world could be a system that is being managed, that is being administered. If this is a reality that is being administered, the allocation of existential resource and occurrence is also under administration. What that means is what happens to the individual in an existential system that has an admin is actually admin approved. When I think about my own life, I could have been talking about something else. I could have been, in my, I'm 32 now. I could have been speaking about, yo, man, this is how you get, luxury items. This is how you get women. This is how you get this. Yeah, man. Yeah, but for me, something has made me feel like, what the fuck? Everybody's having fun inside a simulation. It's a fucking simulation. It's hollow. It's like going in an empty room and visualizing all the luxurious furniture in there, even though there being no furniture, and being satisfied with that. Most human beings are satisfied with simulated responses to their questions of truth. You are satisfied with the simulated. I was too. And the way I awakened from it was I realized the lifetime is not just a constant self-obsession. Every day I wake up, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna... Like, it's nonsense. It's freaking nonsense. We're all actors. Everybody is an actor. Look at them. I went to film school, and I've actually, I know how to speak to actors on set. Filling them in on the subtext and whatnot. But anyways, what I'm trying to tell you is I want you, the next time you go for a walk in this world, look at everybody. Masquerade party. It's costume games. Only the honest are not dressed up. And the honest have no choice because the chaos of the meaninglessness renders them simple. If somebody said, Mr. Within, if let's say somebody's coming into this video game of life, is it better they have simple expectations or complex expectations? I can tell you, as long as I tried through complexity, multidimensionality, the sophistication of information to reach that peace, you don't realize what God is an opportunity for you as an object, not just as an object, not just as a subject, to interact. Everybody's an actor, but they're acting in their own worlds in accordance to their own meaning. If they're not confident, they'll act in accordance to what the world wants. To be honest, they say I don't know, life belongs to the bold or something like that. You got to be bold and you get what you want. But in reality, it's not about being bold. It's about everything. Like let me tell you this. Sometimes you might be a coward, but if you see the right way something should happen, that gives you strength. Understanding dispels fear, strangely. Anyways, it's not even strange because it makes you realize that the simulation you were treating was unnecessary. I have a test. I can tell you exactly. You can bring anybody in front of me, any person on this planet, and I will ask them one question and I can tell you what state they're in. And that question is, what is the most important thing in your life? What is the most important thing to you in your life? And you know what most people answer? Especially single people who haven't married yet? They say myself. Do you understand what I'm telling you? If I ask you right now, what's the most important thing to you here in this world from the beginning of your lifetime till now? And if you say yourself, I know that you are worshiping your future self. I know. And if others know, they can even manipulate you. If I ask you, what is the most important thing? And let's say you're a family man and you say my wife and kids. Or let's say you're a wife, you say my husband and kids. I would say, this person has surpassed self-worship. They are worshiping others. Worshiping others as a family man being responsible is. If the most important thing in your life is somebody else, good job, you're not a narcissist, but it's still not the correct route. What do I mean? Oh my God. It's other worship. Let's say if I ask you what's the most important thing to you, and let's say you're someone who lives in the forest and you're like trees, nature, wildlife, I'd be like, okay, this person is worshiping the world. None of these are correct. Worshiping yourself doesn't get you there. Worshiping others doesn't get you there. Worshiping the world doesn't get you there, because the world is filled with form. And when you worship form, you're in simulated territory. The game is not a bunch of human beings on a rock in the middle of nowhere and they're telling themselves the story. It's that you as a player have entered this game of life. You are put in a situation, in a scenario. To overcome this scenario, you got to look at the clues. The clues are: one, the world is too big for us to index and have an accurate realization about. The other clue is that we're too temporary to do the exploration of it. Three, when we go to know ourselves, our knowledge is limited dimensionally and we cannot know ourselves either. So you're in a situation, in a game, where you cannot know yourself. You can choose to go know others, but it's still there in the world. So it's pretty much you're in a box, okay? And anything you do in the box is incorrect. Not incorrect, in some sense simulated. So the only way, like right now, what I'm saying is, imagine all of us were inside a box. And I'm someone who's saying, yo, nothing in the box is accurate. It's outside the box. The attention should go to that which is not limited to form. Why? Because anything that has form is designed. So the uniqueness of our reality is that we're in a world filled with design. We are designed beings. And when it comes to property and ownership, it's freaking ridiculous. Like, you look at somebody's house, you're like, who owns this house? You're like, that person does. No problem with owning land. No problem with nations even owning land. But when it comes to a god owning the world, we're like, yo, man, that's bizarre. Excuse me, are we selectively choosing freedom? Are we saying, yo, man, in this case we're free, in the other case no? So do you see what I'm saying? Everybody is acting as if the invisible is true. Laws are invisible. You act in accordance to it. Time is invisible. You act in accordance to it. Gravity is invisible. You act in accordance to it. The idea of you can't even touch the idea of you. Yet you believe in it and it's true. If I ask you, who are you? You're going to be like, yeah, man, I'm this guy. That story you tell me is you are acting as the owner, the subjective individual owner of the objective existence. So let's get real here, okay? All right. A percentage of the population is worshiping the world. A percentage of the population is at least has the right idea of worshiping beyond the world. Worship means where your attention is anchored. Do you know what that means? That means that, like, what has changed in me that I'm saying these things is that I would wake up and treat as if I am like the most important thing to me. But now it's changed. Now the reality check came in. Now I know there is a system admin. And pretty much human beings have two paths, okay? And you're like, doubt me as much as you want. Either now or in the future, you'll see what I mean. The two paths are: one, for a soul, okay, in the world. And of course, this is one being's view. First of all, go directly to the system admin for all inquiries. You know, I'm just a member in the system giving feedback, okay? Contact the manufacturer for any problems. Do you understand? That means don't ask a simulation for truth. I'm a simulated being right now. All other beings in this world are simulated to some degree. There are moderators. The moderators have simulated authority. So what does that mean? This means that between man and God, yes, there are other beings. There are moderators. But these moderators, the closer they are to the original reality, to the original power source, God, right, the more they are automated. The further away you are, the more it's manual settings. Do you understand? So it depends. If you want to be old school and drive a manual car, you can. You want to draw an automated car or want a car that drives itself, you can. These are your choices of how you function. The human's mind is so sophisticated that you could be a person born in 1991 and suddenly hear, like, Frank Sinatra's song and get nostalgia of a time you weren't even born yet. Do you know? The mind has an incredible ability to interact. Now the question is, the interaction of the mind has to have intelligence. That means when we send children to school, are they learning from where is the true learning happening, right? And it's an intelligent interaction. Do you understand? Somebody who goes through something understands that system way better than somebody who hasn't gone through it. And sometimes it is the case, it's happened to me, that like when you go to a friend's house and they have a video game you've never played, and they have a console you've never seen, and you use that console, the first time you're doing moves, like pressing random buttons, doing moves that nobody thinks about. But then when you get serious about learning how to play the game, you organize your mind and you limit yourself. So the thing is, sometimes us thinking of trying to do the right thing is actually closing our mind, not opening it. So what I'm trying to say is that understanding takes patience, because we have to look at the situation from a bunch of angles. Anybody who's played chess is a game of logic, and all you require to actually succeed in it, if there isn't a time limit, is the patience to calculate every piece. Now, how many people are there on the planet like that? That they take their time, they're like, man, it's a lot of work, but I gotta do it. All right, what can this piece do? What can this piece do? And they're trying to accumulate angles of perception. And in the accumulation of these angles of perception, pretty much there is the lower self road and the higher self road. The lower self road is it's that part of you that is simulated and knows the simulated to be true. This is why you have desires for the worldly. You have desires for the worldly because you're also designed in it. But there is a part of you that if it chooses not to jump ahead, not to create the future, not to have strict futuristic expectations of itself, like solid, strict expectations, and in some sense chooses to be simple and truly believes that there is a system admin. I'm not kidding. This requires sincerity. If you sincerely, just try it out. If you're right now in your life, there's something that you can't control, or there's forces that are overpowering you, just call out to the one and only system admin. Just sincere. This is what happened to me, and it was something where I was pushed to the brink of not insanity, but I was destroying myself by worshiping myself. And it reached a point where I realized I could have as much knowledge as I want, like I could get as much information, but there are things, like life is being moved. Do you understand? Others are being moved as I am being moved, and I cannot control the organization of all their movements. So for me, the fact that there were religions that were saying, yo, there is an admin, it was like hope. The idea of God is like the greatest hope, because the other option is meaningless shenanigans. My fellow species, you're all gonna live interesting lives. You're gonna live lives, and you're pretty much occupying a position in existence with your attention that is giving life to the moment. It's giving life. We are the life in the room. Right now in this car, I am like the spirit in it. I'm the spirit that moves this car. But how does the spirit know to move the car? And this is where I will advise. I'm someone who climbed the mountain of spirituality, and I climbed it down, and now I'm climbing a new mountain. The difference between spiritual people and religious people is spiritual people are still in the phase. They're kind of, it's a bit noobish. It's like they're still in the phase of only allowing truth to be true through themselves. This is what the Buddha and the yogis, I think, there was something off there, right? What was off was that a spiritual person reaches a conclusion that they are not the ego, they have no self, and because they have no self, they treat the whole moment as themselves. If you treat the whole moment, if you make the whole moment equal to yourself, you're making yourself equal to God. If you make yourself equal to God, you don't exist. If you make the created equal to the creation, you don't exist, because there is no cause and effect then. So spirituality is a sort of nullification. It's not actually like, it's like, rather than putting a key into the door, like the right key in the door and unlocking the door, instead you were either like, the door doesn't exist or I don't exist, so there is no need for a key, right? But what there is a need for is the realization that you are in an intelligent world. What if the purpose is not you getting an answer to a formula or seeing a final image? What if we are here as the only life form on this planet capable of noticing the greater intelligences, if there are? Do you understand? Even if you're not religious, but just by the fact that you are the most advanced life form, evolutionary life form on this planet, you owe it to all the other life forms on this planet to see if there is a transcendental agency, to see if there is a higher power, if behind the scenes of everything that has happened so far, there was an organizational consideration of all matters at hand on all levels. What that means is justice, not just for higher beings, justice not just for human beings, but just not just for insects even, but justice for atoms, for even forms in space, of how they are positioned. The divine decree is masterful. It's as if this world is coded and it knows the coder. Any code that is close to the original reality, the original power, in some sense, the world engages it. The world notices it. What the prophets succeeded in was, in some sense, translating this superior code for the member in the system. The prophets were such advanced beings, guys, that if I talk about them too much, I will get emotional. The prophets were when the skies poured light. And the difference between a prophet and a poet is that a poet speaks through desire. It's lower self-ability. The lower self-life, you end up being a polymath if you max it out. The higher self-life, you submit your own control of the system, and you get to experience a controlled system. It's the difference is like this. If you want to give yourself something, it's limited to imaginable imperfection. But when the system admin, the creator, wants to give the creator something, it is unimaginable perfection. It is perfect. Why? Not in the sense that you understand, but in the sense that what is needed arrived. So everything I consider is waiting for advancement. Life puts beings in situations for advanced beings to interact with them. Suddenly, life brings a cat that has never seen humans beside a human, right? Life and its administration is incredible. I thought that there were dimensions of beings managing it, but I am not that convinced anymore. It's commands, it's code. So when you write code, right, it's like the beginning and the ending is sealed. Similarly, you know, we have reached that point in human history where human beings have been given too much advice. We know what to do. All of you know what to do. All of you can feel that it's weird that we've taken a giant rock, painted it in with different colors, fragmented ourselves through subconscious psychological overlays of language upon physical reality, and are ignoring the fact it's like every moment that the human species is fragmented is every moment that it in some sense is missing out on its collective strength. The collective strength, I might not be alive for this, or I might be, I don't know, but most likely what will happen as the new generations arrive is that all nations currently will become sub-nations, but they will become sub-nations of the nation of humanity. NOH. I've written this in my sci-fi at least. In the nation of humanity, you get a special, like, imagine passport or residency or citizenship, that you were born on Earth and you belong to the Earth. And your inhabitation zone, that means your address in the far future may not be like a specific address on a specific street in the fiction of man's man-made culture in nature, in unknown nature. And the nation of humanity would be, you would become a member if you are human, if you have human body, if your blood is red, if you have a skeletal system. Do you understand? It's so easy to see what state of civilization we're in. Imagine this world was a company. You stepped into this company. You saw that it has no hierarchy, no organizational structure. Employees are wasting their times, not even realizing they're in their in the workplace. I'm not saying that this world is a company. I'm telling you that if you could see the potential of where you are, some part of you would be like, why is it not there? And there is no reason. It just hasn't been done. And the reason can be that the divine decree is still awaiting. But we are intelligent and conscious enough to realize that all the unborn future generations that watch us and how the Almighty watches us, it's performance based. This world, a simulation, like an exam, in some sense, like you go to the exam hall, they give you the exam paper, you finish it, and you get out of there. And so you are in a process, you are in a lifetime where your soul is in performance review. But this performance has to do through your noticing that there is a higher power, that you did not create anybody that you have ever loved and hated. And in some sense, the ability of the human being to collaborate with higher power is a mighty step. Mighty. Just for you to notice the original power of the original world is here is mighty. And my relationship with God is not like, yo, I have a phone and I can call God anytime. I do not consider myself even, to be honest, a friend of God anymore. It's more like a peasant in the presence of a higher power, in the presence of a higher authority. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. So you're telling me if there was such a being here, it's smarter to act like it doesn't exist and the whole thing doesn't have any meaning, huh? That's the smarter way, rather than being a brave human being and being like, okay, these cowards nullified the world, rather than actually seeing what's here. Shame on, in some sense, the material initiative to be so scared that we never step out of the box that we even don't believe is real. You don't even understand what part of what species you're a part of. The legacy of humanity has in some sense a greatness in it that from here we can envision. We can see further. We can see further ahead through the windshield of the civilization we're driving. If you truly want to access sight and dimensions that nobody has, you have to trust how your uniqueness. You have to honor your eyes. But it's kind of hard to honor them unless you understand the original power. All that religion is saying is that there is an original power. By contacting this original power, it's equivalent to like you going to a friend's house, being in that house, right? And you've asked the friend, you're thirsty and you don't know where to go and get water. The proper move is not like you just get up and go and open the friend's kitchen and refrigerator and just get water. The proper thing is, when you are in a world you don't know, you figure out the authority of that world, the power, the governing power of that world. In finding the governing power, it's as if let's say somebody created a Discord server, there's members, moderators, and a singular system admin. If the member has a problem with the moderators, if the moderators cannot do anything, the only option of the member is simulation. If you're a human being that you've tried all worldly methods to get something done, contact the system admin. And how you do it is, it's equivalent like an ant going in the presence of a giant. An ant going in the presence of a skyscraper. You can't even know. All you do is you just acknowledge. For me, having this relationship of bowing to the original creator of reality, it's an honor. It's an honor to be present in a reality. You have people who in some sense, like they go and they work in a company, and when their boss passes their cubicle, immediate honor, perfection, act pro, right? But you don't realize the boss of the world is reviewing our performance. Do you understand? It's important what you do here. Not just to you. If you just see its significant importance to you, you miss out. There's so many ways to look at life. May God forgive the human species. May the human species be fascinated and not forget the original power. We as human beings, in order to build an advanced civilization, which has been my intention from the beginning, so, to better mankind, we found the power source. It's uncaused. What that means is that the uncaused caused causality. If the effect thinks causality is its cause, the effect can never know its origin. By believing this world is real, you put away all the other options of what else it could be. Wonder about reality. You're all in the existential zone. We've arrived here. The crew is here. Buckminster Fuller, Marshall McLuhan, they said spaceship Earth. You're all crew members. You don't realize it yet. And what is the task of a conscious being? To understand, become responsible, and advance. Understanding, responsibility, advancement. I hope sincerely that humanity reaches a point that humanity passes level 2 and understands that to work with the higher power is to trust the presence of how everything moves. Go towards the one and only, like my salutation to Adam. Go towards God, because the simulated life is not satisfying. Thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. All praise due to the Lord of the worlds. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.